Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Tiranno, and today I'm going to be doing my Week 18 update of the 365-day movie challenge. Now, guys, I continued Modern Horror Week this week. I had so much fun last week. If you haven't seen that recap yet, hit the wide eye up here. Links will drop down. You'll be able to click my Week 17 update where I did a bunch of modern horror movies. I had so much fun staying up really late and watching modern horror movies that I've seen just to kind of let slip through my fingers these past couple of years, that I continued it for a second week. I was looking to be scared. I wanted to watch something exciting and fresh, and let me tell you, I did. Now, last week I ended with The House of the Devil from writer, director, and editor Ty West, which I absolutely loved. And I was going to be revisiting more of his work this upcoming week, and I'll be talking about him a lot. So if you haven't seen that, make sure to go check out that video. Also, we did the Race for the Cure here in Las Vegas on Saturday. If you've not seen that video, make sure to go check it out again in that white eye. As well, also, surprise, as our X-Men Apocalypse video review is up now. Yeah, that's right. The movie comes out on the 27th. It is the 10th, so that is 17 days early. I'm bringing it to you here on Chasing Cinema, so click that white eye, and you'll find all of those links available. Let's hop right into it. Day 120 is where we're going to pick up, and I continued watching modern horror, the week of modern horror. And people are like, why are you saying modern horror? Well, because I feel like I've seen a lot of the classics, and granted I can't say I've seen all of them, but I've seen a lot of the major classics. But there have been a lot of new horror films that I haven't seen because, you know, they aren't major theater releases. They're smaller films on Netflix or on these streaming sites or on demand or on Redbox, and I wanted to see them. So I started on day 120 with a film called Honeymoon, which is on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I'd really recommend it because it scared the living hell out of me. That's right. Probably out of all the films that I'd seen during this 2 weeks of modern horror, this movie scared me the most. And some of you will watch it and you go, that guy thinks that's scary. This is stupid. Well, because anytime you recommend something like that to people, most of them watch it with their arms crossed, not to be impressed. I like to let myself go, and I like to just go for it. I like to be involved. I don't try to fight it, right? Honeymoon did scare the hell out of me because it deals with something that personally freaks me out, and I won't get into it, but it is a movie that I really feel is excellent. I mean, it's a really, really great filming, and watching this and House of the Devil back to back, some of the best horror movies I've seen in the past couple years. I put Honeymoon, House of the Devil with Babadook, and you know, these really, really effective horror films that are kind of just popping up out of nowhere. I think that Honeymoon is filmed or is made in such a stylish and suspenseful way, and the performances from the main stars, Harry Treadaway and Rose Leslie, were just absolutely phenomenal. They really kind of create this relationship. I mean, it's about a couple on their honeymoon, obviously, and their relationship. The movie relies on that relationship to build this anxiety and tension and dread. I know I throw those words around a lot when talking about horror movies, but to me, a horror movie isn't a movie that's going to pop out and scare me for that moment. A horror movie is a movie that is going to make me want to turn on the lights as I walk through my dark hallway and think about while I sleep, or as I'm watching, that builds up this feeling of anxiety, like I can't escape, a feeling of dread. Me and Josh Bill have talked about this many times before on this YouTube channel, but that's what I look for in a good horror movie. The Shining is a great example. Shining has some really terrifying moments visually, but it's the feeling that it gives you of being trapped and lost that really makes that film so great. I just think it's so wonderfully creepy and engaging. It had me gnawing at my nails, and I watching this couple kind of fall apart just was so good because there's so many questions you have. You know, you're watching this and you're like, okay, where is this going? And it eventually goes to a place where, again, I don't want to reveal, but it scared the hell out of me. And like House of the Devil, you could tell Honeymoon was made by a filmmaker who loves the genre of horror. It's apparent in every shot. It's going to make your skin crawl. It'll genuinely scare you while telling a great story with pretty exceptional characters. Moving on, I watched the film, 2014 film, which is also available on Netflix. A good chunk of them were available on Netflix, and that is The Taking of Deborah Logan. And this is a found footage film about a documentary that for a young filmmaker. She's making her thesis film on a case of Alzheimer's disease, and it ends up becoming maybe more apparent than that disease. And it's a decent found footage film. I think that offers some minor scares, but more on the scares of being pop out in your face scare, rather than the movies that will actually haunt you as time goes on. I don't think it's one that'll be very memorable. I think that it just didn't strike me on a major level, and instead it just creeped me out a few times, but nothing much I really take from that. But like, if you're hanging with friends and you're looking for something creepy, I think that's a movie that you'd look for, right? Like this movie about this old lady who starts doing some really creepy stuff, but it's not one that's going to stick with you. And then the movie kind of takes a really weird, like some weird stuff starts happening. You're like, oh my god, where is this going? But overall, not a movie I really remember much about already. I mean, I've watched so many great films these past 2 weeks that it's even hard for me to remember them, like the ones that were so-so, because I'm so excited about the great ones. And House, The Devil, and Honeymoon really just had me, my adrenaline going. Then on day 122, which if you are marking your calendars, you know that is the 1/3 mark for me. Yes, we call this the 365-day challenge, but this year is a leap year, which means there's actually 366 days in the movie challenge. That divided by 3 is day 122. So I continued and made the 1/3 mark of this challenge. Yeah! I'm doing this because I don't want to go back and insert a voice saying, yeah! Anyway, I decided to watch another film from Ty West. I'm still, like at this point of the week, I'm coming down, after the taking of Deborah Logan. I was like, man, I really want to capture what I got with House of the Devil, which was this great horror film, and this movie that was just a great film. It wasn't so much scary as it was just like an homage to the horror genre. I said, all right, I'm going to give it another go and watch his film, The Innkeepers, on Hulu. And that, of course, just equally shocked me and just made me it just is so enjoyable. It's just another excellent horror film, and it's done with such a sophistication and style. It tells a familiar haunting story. The story isn't very original. So it's kind of like House of the Devil. Not a very original story. It's about a babysitter who just so happens to babysit this house that has some issues. But this film is about two kids who are the innkeepers of a closing hotel that is supposedly haunted. They both are trying to investigate the hauntings here, and weird things start happening. But it doesn't depend on these horror tropes that we've seen hundreds of times. It brings you really into the story. It makes your feet it's just okay, I'm having trouble here. It makes you feel what's coming, right? It's that anticipation. You're sitting with these people, you're hearing about these hauntings, and you're like going through time. And it's, I think there's two types of people who like horror films. It's like someone who wants something right now, and then there's the ones that like to wait. And I'm the person who I'd rather wait for a big payoff than get the cheap stuff early. And that's not always the case. Just because you give me something early doesn't mean it's cheap. Scream is a perfect example of that. One of the most scariest films in my lifetime that I've seen was Scream. And that beginning scene is horrifying. But, the Innkeepers is the opposite. Like, the Innkeepers will make you sit there and wait. And there's creepy things that happen, but it makes you fear what's to come rather than what's happening in the moment. It's quite well done. I mean, Ty West, it's pretty amazing that I started this week not knowing Ty West's work, only from VHS, which he did work on some of it. But then watching these two films and him becoming like easily one of my favorite modern horror filmmakers. I mean, these two films are so good. And, there's a lot of his work that I haven't seen. He hasn't done much, though. And at this point, I'm just like, man, I really love this guy's style. It does have a terrifying ending, though. So like I said, it makes you fear what's to come, and it definitely pays off. I mean, the use of suspense makes the climactic ending even more terrifying. I mean, just the few images that you see, like, oh my god, oh damn. So, I was scared for Honeymoon. I wasn't for taking of Deborah Logan, but the Innkeepers got me scared again. Heart's bumping a little bit. I mean, it uses what the common American horror films aren't, right? And I hate to say that, but it's true. Like, horror is something where you'll talk to most people, and they'll see the horror movies in the theaters, or they'll see the typical red boxes, and they'll say it's just not good. It's not memorable. There's nothing like they used to make. And it's not true, man. There are definitely good horror films out there. You just have to look for them. I gave you 3 right now. House of the Devil, Innkeepers, Honeymoon. And I'm not done with the week yet, so stay tuned. But, I mean, they use great storytelling, anticipation, and really entertaining characters to best. I think the character in this film, the main star, I'm spacing her name right now, she was so entertaining because she's goofy, she's strange, but you like her, she's funny, and you really root for her. And, that's the thing I said about Oculus last week. Oculus works because I'm rooting for these characters to succeed, but Ty West, right now in my mind, is the man. Moving on, day 123. Okay, let me tell you about day 123 because it was a rough one. This week was the release of Captain America Civil War. If you've not seen our review for that, again, that white eye. We could also see our review for X-Men Apocalypse and our Race for the Cure video. Thursday, we were getting prepared for X-Men Captain America Civil War. I had seen the film twice at this point. Like, I've already seen the film twice. Once at CinemaCon and once during press screening. And I said, okay, I'm going to watch something like a horror movie while everyone's watching Civil War. Totally forgot. Ended up sitting in Civil War because I had multiple friends come to our private screening. If you don't know about our private screenings, check out our movie reviews. Me and Mr. James Shue host a private theater premiere every Thursday night. If you want to know more, leave a comment in the comment section down below. But anyway, I watched the 2.5 hour Civil War film. Got my co-writer Louis Garzola home, because we carpooled. And then, so I'm driving home. It's 4 a.m. and I got to watch a horror movie. And this was kind of one I was just blind. I said, okay. And it was The Den, a film, again, from Netflix, 2013 film. And it's a decent film. It uses like screen capturing and found footage to tell a really creepy story that kind of never pays off. So if you guys know, I was a huge fan of Unfriended last year. Like, one of my favorite movies of the year. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. And it uses like the idea of someone on a computer. And this movie captures that at times, but they're using this program called The Den, and I don't really know how The Den works, and I think that was a kind of a problem for me. Like, I assumed it was like a chat roulette type deal, because she's watching, and she'll switch, and she'll whatever it's called, and she'll pick the next person, but then she'll like get FaceTime invites from her friends, so it's kind of like Skype and like Omegle kind of blended together. So I was kind of confused, like, I wonder how this works. But eventually she gets being stalked by someone from this computer program, and it honestly gets a little messy, and it's less satisfying. And it's just like a messier, less satisfying version of Unfriended. It just didn't satisfy me like that movie did. Like, I've been raving about Unfriended for a year now, and over a year, and I just keep telling people how much fun that is. And like, this movie tries to capture that essence. Well, actually, it was before Unfriended, so this film might have helped inspire that. But it really was a letdown. Like, it does not. It really lacks the authenticity and like feeling like you're on a computer like Unfriended has. It really, like I always said, like what's cool about Unfriended is because it feels so real in a sense, because like I've done that stuff on my computer where this doesn't feel that way. But it does offer some solid scares and some creepy moments. It's just not a very effective film. I think it's a build-up thriller that concludes in what feels like an afterthought. It doesn't really ever really work, and it's kind of like, all right. So not a favorite of mine. Moving on to day 124, I watched The Ward, a film from director John Carpenter. This is the last film from the master director known as John Carpenter, who brought us Halloween and The Fog and many other films. And this was a film in 2010. It was his film, like it was the first film he did after Ghosts of Mars, which was like 2001, 2002. And then he did this film in 2010, and people have been telling me to watch this. But I honestly was really bummed, and because I thought it was kind of mediocre. Like, I didn't feel much out of The Ward. Like, I've seen so many great films this week that this movie used more pop-out scare than suspense. Like, in your face, and you think about John Carpenter's work, and his work's not typically like that. I mean, Michael Myers, of course, uses pop-out scares in the Halloween film, but it still had this feeling of dread. Like, it really had this horrifying feeling about it. That's why it is one of the greatest horror films ever made. But this movie like tries to create a twist and give this story an interesting spin, but again, similar to The Den, it feels like an afterthought. Like it just feels like it doesn't click together and come like to be this like great like reveal aha moment. It doesn't really give us any characters to invest in. I mean, we know there's these girls in the psychiatric ward and they're trying to escape because something bad is happening to them. But it's not, I don't care about any of the girls. Like, yeah, I get that this is my main character and I want her to escape, supposedly, but I don't feel that way. I don't feel connected to any girls. So when these girls start disappearing, I'm not bummed or disappointed about it. It just feels really thin. And I think that's really a bummer because I would hate to talk, hate to describe a film from like such a talented horror filmmaker and just call that movie thin, but that's what it was. Like, I mean, I think it's still worth watching. If you're a fan of John Carpenter, watch The Ward. And I think that there are glimpses of potential, but I think the glimpse of potential make it equally disappointing because you just realize how much they missed. And like I said here, it's the last film from director John Carpenter, and I wish it just gave me more. And I wonder how different this movie would have been if Carpenter made it in his prime. Like, I wonder how different this whole movie would have been. And hopefully there's another masterpiece in him and he's just waiting to give it to us because The Ward wasn't it. Moving on, this is Saturday, the same day as The Race for the Cure, in which I watched another film from filmmaker Ty West. Ty, if you're watching this, man, I love your stuff. I love your work, man. I watched 3 movies of yours in 1 week. Well, actually 4 movies in 2 weeks, if you count VHS. And that was the 2013 film, The Sacrament. Now, though labeled a horror, I would definitely say this was more of a dramatic thriller. Like, this movie isn't so much of a horrifying movie like House of the Devil or The Innkeepers, but this is definitely a thrilling film, and it does have some truly horrifying moments that will kind of haunt you and stay with you, but in a different light. And once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Basically, the film follows some journalists who go to this camp where one of their sisters have gone after being addicted or struggling with addiction, and they're trying to see what this camp is all about, only to find out that this camp is run by a very influential figure known as Father. And I'll just leave it at that. And like most of Ty West's films, it requires patience. It forces you to wait, creating tension every step of the way. You're stuck in this place and you have to wait for things to come. Innkeeper, we are stuck in a hotel waiting for something to happen. House of the Devil, we are stuck in this house. This movie, we're in this beautiful open area camp, but we're still just waiting and knowing that bad thing, something wicked this way comes, said Shakespeare. And I think that's the best way to describe Ty West's filmmaking style, from what I've seen. This film didn't impact me as much as The House of the Devil, Innkeepers, but I think it's another example of just how talented Ty West is because it is quite different. I think that this film, you watch it and you're like, wow, like this movie talks about something like very heavy and like very intense and horrifying, but it's not a movie that offers like that doesn't have ghosts or spirits or devil worshipping or anything like that. This movie is about people, and I think that it's a really nice shift on Ty West's part, because it's like we've seen so many horrifying creatures and monsters do so much damage in his films that now the monster in this film are humans and their believability and their search for something. And the movie, I think, is amazing. Also available on Netflix. If you've not seen Ty West's work, please go check it out now because I'm a huge fan of his and I can't wait to see what else he has coming because I really enjoyed all 3 of these films. And then I concluded this week with my 2-week modern horror week with a film called Would You Rather, on the recommendation of my brother, who watches a lot of Netflix. And he was just like, watch this. On Mother's Day, we were all out there having dinner with our mothers. And he said, watch this movie. And I watched Would You Rather. And I wouldn't say it was... it's a film that's not very original, but the theme of human greed has always told interesting stories. This 2012 film isn't super scary. It's not a movie that will stay with you, but I think it's a mediocre film that has some fairly good moments, but fails to kind of reach this, fails to give you a heavily satisfying ending. Like watching this movie, I was like, all right, that's where we're going, right? And like you could, I think the ending is predictable a mile away. Like I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but I did. And I'm talking about the very tail end of the film, and that and it's just like okay, and then it just kind of leaves you there. So I mean, I guess the whole thing is. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to spoil it, but it'll make you cringe at times. I mean, there's some really hard stuff to watch in this movie because of the inhumanity and torture things that happen because of greed. But overall, I don't think it was very effective. I think it really kind of lacks a certain moral and a certain theme and something that really kind of connects everything. But it does offer a solid performance from Jeffrey Combs, who just looks like he's having a blast in this movie. There's two moments in particular where he shows off his talent. Basically, if you don't want to know what it's about and you want to watch it, skip forward a few seconds, okay? Would You Rather is a story about a very, very rich and powerful man who picks people to play a game. He invites them over for dinner, and they play games of Would You Rather. And in that, these 8 or however many people have to play a game of Would You Rather, but they have to do things that are quite horrible. For instance, the first round, because there are a few, is would you rather electrocute yourself or another person? Now, it won't kill you, but it'll electrocute you. And so on and so forth. The odds go. And I mean, they have to beat someone with this whipping cane or stab them in the leg. So it gets pretty crazy. And after doing this, people in their attempt to escape at times, so all these people run in and try to escape this house. They don't get to. And Jeffrey Combs offended, he's like really bothered that they tried to escape. And one girl in particular was attacked by his son and almost raped. And they bring her back in, and he goes to her, and like this is after people have died in this room, and like they all these people are learning that they're not going to leave. Only one person's going to leave, and he sits down next to her, and he's like talking to her. He's like, "I'm so sorry for what happened to you. Like I really apologize for that like rudeness." And he does it with such sincerity that I believed he was sorry for that, but didn't comprehend that he should be sorry for keeping them captive. Like it was a really interesting moment, I think, as far as a performance goes. And then at the end, when a victor is crowned, or if a victor is crowned, well, all right, the victor was crowned, he expects a thank you, and he's offended that this person had to go and witness multiple murders and maybe even commit one herself, to his or herself, and not say thank you. Pretty interesting, but I think it did end in a rather predictable fashion, and left me asking, that's it? But anyway, I'm moving on to a week of disaster movies. Make sure to tune in next week when I do my Week 19 update. Guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Make sure to leave me some comments below if you have any recommendations or things that you think I should watch, or you have any comments about the movies I mentioned today. Let me know down here in the comment sections below. If you enjoyed what I did, slap a like on my video. Lets me know I'm doing a good job. I'm always happy. And to never miss a video that we do here, hit that subscribe button. Again, my Review for the Cure video is out. My Captain America Civil War video review is out. And so is my X-Men Apocalypse review. Click that white eye and you shall see everything. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacob Tiranno. And please continue chasing cinema.